Okay, I think it's time to start. Well, good morning and welcome to this webinar where we will discuss the uptake of large heat pumps connected to district heating. So I'm Eloi, I'm Market Intelligence Director at Euroheat and Power, and I will moderate this webinar. So, we are living really exciting times for the district heating sector. Every month we hear of new projects. So in January, the district heating operator in Flensburg announced a new investment into a large heat pump using water from the fjord with a capacity of 60 megawatts that will help the company meet its carbon neutrality objective by 2035. Last month, it was Rhein, the operator in Cologne. They announced a 150 megawatt heat pump project using water from the Rhine River. And I think I could continue with many more examples of new projects. So there is a moment for district heating and large heat pump. And when we are talking large or mega heat pump, we are actually talking big size. To give you an idea, in Mannheim, the heat pump that started operation in 2023 using the Rhine River water weighs over 140 tons and can supply the equivalent of over 3,500 households. Today, large heat pumps in the district heating sector represent around 2 gigawatts of installed capacity, as you can see now on the slide. So this capacity is located mainly in Northern Europe, to be precise, in Sweden. District heating and large heat pumps are a perfect team to decarbonize the heat market and supply European cities with energy that is affordable and sustainable in line with the 2030 and 2050 European objectives. Large heat pumps are instrumental to harvest the potential of local energy sources like energy from lake and river water, geothermal. They can also use low temperature waste heat like data center and new urban sources like sewage water, metro station, etc. And equally important, large heat pumps combined with heat networks together with thermal storage, electric boilers, and CHP help integrate renewable electricity. They contribute to grid stability and develop energy systems that are more sustainable and resilient. And here I would like to quote a recent report by the Swedish Energy Agency. They estimated that Swedish district energy systems avoided the installation of an extra 10 gigawatts of electrical capacity, or 1/3 of national peak load capacity, compared to an individual scenario, simply because thermal systems have the ability to decarbonize heat supply while integrating renewable electricity. As I just said, mitigating peak demands and doing so, balancing the grid. And offloading the last kilometer of the grid is very precious. It also keeps electrical capacity for other purposes. Now, looking at the future, well, we can see many projects across Europe to deploy large heat pumps, on many markets, from Finland, Norway, to Austria. We will hear later this morning about Italy. To go back to Germany, which is definitely a hot market these days, there are over 50 projects in planning, under construction, or in operation, or about 900 megawatt of capacity, which is really big, of which 80 megawatt are already in operation. Aalborg University is this day finalizing a new study on the potential of district heating by 2050. And according to their analysis, large heat pumps should represent 10% of the district heating fuel mix by 2030 and 20 to 30% by 2050. In the perspective of a district heating sector supplying at least 55% of heat demands in the context of a fully decarbonized energy sector. And as you can see on this slide, the potential for new heat sources is actually very significant in Europe, and a share of this potential will be met thanks to district heating using large heat pumps. So you can see here on the slide, I will not go into details, but we are talking about a potential of 2,000 terawatt-hour per year, or the equivalent of heat demands from buildings in 2050. So it's really, really big. I will stop now and I will give the floor to our speakers. So basically, 3 years after Repower EU, it's time to catch up and see how the market is developing. And our first speaker is Raymond Decorvet from Man Energy Solutions. And this morning, he will bring to us his insights on current market developments. So please, Raymond, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Eloi. It's always good to hear about great projects, even they are not coming from us, but it's always exciting to hear. Yeah, we are talking about decarbonizing district heating with mega heat pumps. Why mega heat pumps? Because we are really now talking big. Very often 50 to 100 times bigger than what is already considered as being a large scale heat pump. Actually, this is certainly a goal to fight climate change and global warming, and for sure, mega heat pumps and district heating, they can really make a big difference in reducing the CO2 emissions. Next slide, please. Yes, prioritizing the decarbonization of district heating, that should be really a priority. I believe in Europe, because we have got 19,000 district heating networks. I don't know if you are aware of that. I learned that from Euroheat and Power last year. These are the low-hanging fruits to decarbonize district heating networks. Why are they the low-hanging fruits? Because to replace an incumbent heat source for a network one by one with a heat pump is relatively simple. And that's why low-hanging fruit. And because of the sheer magnitude of heat demand in a district heating network, we can really have a big impact on reducing CO2 with changing the heat source for a district heating network. And heat pumps, they are not making any compromise in decarbonizing. So they are using electricity and they are providing heat to the network, and both is supporting the energy transition as well as the heat transition. So no compromise on that. Next slide, please. Yeah, 21st century is the age of the mega heat pumps. And why is this technology so superior? Well, first of all, it's a proven and a mature technology. Actually, the history of heat pumps as we know it today goes back 175 years. And they are, as I already said, supporting the energy and the heat transition at the same time. They are sustainable and clean, and they are decarbonizing the heat and cold production simultaneously, and they can generate steam if we want to, if there are steam district heating networks even. They are highly efficient. The COP of 3 and more is achievable on the hot side. If we add now even on the cold side, then we can reach 5 or even 7 of COP, which makes it an incredibly highly efficient technology. Compare a heat boiler, an electric boiler, it has got a COP of just below 1. Then they can really deliver vast thermal capacities at high and low temperature levels. So 130 degrees plus will serve every district heating I came across so far. They are very robust, they are reliable and very long lasting. So we anticipate 35 years lifetime and even more. And because it is a a physical process, there will be no performance drops in the lifetime. And they can handle various of heat sources, natural as well as artificial heat sources, means heat recovery from industry, for instance. Next slide, please. But that was not everything. Here is more to come about mega heat pumps. So they can actually support sector coupling. So on the left side, on top, we have a district heating network, and the heat pump is also providing chilled water, which could be used for cooling a data center. Or otherwise, the data center could be used as a heat source for the heat pump. And so this is a very nice sector coupling. This also works with the industry, of course, what we can see here. But even with a heat pump, we can generate thermal storage, and we can integrate renewables. What does that mean? If we have a surplus of renewables, in rather to curtail the surplus of renewable power, we can use it to charge a thermal storage. And by doing that, we can help with a heat pump to stabilize the grid. So as what you can see here, a lot of sector coupling and other applications. Next slide, please. Yeah, I start first with these 5 projects which we are working on, and one we already realized. My friend Klaus will talk about this in Esbjerg, but we provide 464 megawatt of thermal output. And all in all, we can save 500 tons of CO2 every year by implementing these heat pumps in the future. And each of these projects is groundbreaking, either in the refrigerant we are using, or in size, or the heat source we are using. So we will hear more about that. And so there is more to come. Next slide, please. And this is how a heat pump could look like of the size we are talking about, mega heat pumps. So I finish here, and yes, enjoy what you're finding out in the next couple of minutes to listen to these great projects which are now, you're listening now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raymond. And I think you had a very important slide and an important message here on sector coupling. Indeed, district heating coupled with large heat pumps is a vector of integration between heat and electricity and between various sectors. So thank you very much, Raymond.
I need to correct the typo here. I thought it was already done. So actually, this heat pump here is in operation since December 24. So, but Klaus will talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah, this will be corrected, Raymond. Okay, but now I would like to move to our next speaker, Dr. Verena Faber from Hamburg District Heating. So, Verena, you represent an operator. So, can you tell us about the role of heat pump and why they are so important in the next steps in Hamburg to decarbonize and grow the heat supply?
Thank you very much, Eloi, and thank you very much to Euroheat and Power to allow us to present our next steps towards reaching climate neutrality. Germany has a goal to reach climate neutrality already in 2045, 5 years earlier than the European goal, 2050. So high efforts are needed. And now I would like to show you our path to climate neutrality on the example of the Hamburger Energiewerke at the city of Hamburg in northern Germany, and how we are transforming the district heating with heat pumps. A short slide showing our company. At the moment, we provide 25% market share of heating in the city of Hamburg, and our district heating grid system just celebrated 130 years. So it's a very solid system, 130 years old, and now we are transforming and decarbonising. You can see on the next slide, please, that on the right-hand side I show the largest single contribution to the city of Hamburg's climate goals is our phasing out of hard coal and our two larger hard coal-fired CHP plants in Wedel, which is now already in the procedure. You see 2025, 2026. So this is our one of our great big projects. And then CHP Tiefstack, the latest 2030. Then we will have completed the coal firing in the city of Hamburg and contribute very large part of Hamburg's climate goals. And the next slide, please, you will see the city of Hamburg. You see from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, it's a very large district heating grid, a very large system. We have on the left-hand side, you see a lot of hard coal still in the system, so that's why we need to decarbonize. On the right, you see it's 860 kilometers of district heating pipelines. So a lot of work to do to decarbonize, and I show you on the next slide our two-step approach. You can or three-step you can see to decarbonize from base load to medium load to peak load. And for the waste base load, we need a waste heat, environmental heat, to reach the climate neutral heat generation over the whole year. The medium load I show on the left-hand side. We need heat pumps, CHP heating plants with synthetic fuels, and the large heat pumps. There are two kinds we are able to use: the sewage treatment plant in a cooperation with Hamburg Water Company, and the river heat pumps. And on the next slide, you will see we show the potential for greenhouse gas neutral heat generation within our city grid. Environmental heat on the left-hand side, for example, the wastewater, surface water, solar thermal, geothermal. The availability does not necessarily correspond to the heating requirements as shown on the slide before, because we have the base load, the medium load, and the integration effort is quite high. The environmental heat needs to be utilized via the heat pumps. That's why we have or see the importance of heat pumps, and we need electricity supply also within our transformation of the district heating grid system. And on the next slide, you see our plan to phase out coal until 2030. That's the next big step we are working toward. On the part of the map of Hamburg, on the lower part, you see the so-called Port Energy Park. You see it's a modular system. So we change from two larger hard coal-fired power plants to really energy parks, we call it, where you use a lot of modules in order to have enough heat production. And one of them, the number 4 as shown, is a large-scale heat pump at the wastewater treatment plant, which is owned by Hamburg Water. And we are well in the project construction timeline. So next winter time, we expect to have finalized this 60 megawatt project. And we are very proud. It's 4 heat pumps with 15 megawatt of volume, heating volume. Johnson Controls supplies those heat pumps for us. And on the part on the top, you see the Energiepark Tiefstack, which is phasing out coal until 2030. And there we focus on the river heat pumps. We are happy. You see the blue line is the River Elbe running through the whole city. So we have enough of water. The challenge for us is to find the right space close by to the heating grid, enough space that we need for the large-scale river heat pumps, 2 of a kind, and the project, the right size is still in project development, but you see the great importance of large heat pumps for our transformation, phasing out of coal until 2030. And the next slide, please. I brought you some images. On the left-hand side, you see the heat pump building of Hamburg Water, which we are in the project finalization phase until the next winter time, and the heat pump building from the exterior view. And on the next slide, I have brought with me images of the other energy park, Tiefstack, which enables us to grow and integrate more climate neutral heating. And you see on the right-hand side the great importance of the river water heat pumps we are planning until the time period of 2030 in order to phase out of coal in Tiefstack and use this modular concept by integrating different peat production possibilities, and the river water heat pump is one very important part of it. To reach the climate neutral heating, to reach the climate neutrality goals. And this would be the end of my short introduction to our Northern German projects in the city of Hamburg. So we need a lot of space. What we also need is enough financial support and long-term regulatory security, for example, for the permission procedures in order to finalize the projects in the time needed to reach the fixed climate neutrality goals, 2030, phasing out of coal, and then 2045 for Germany to reach the full climate neutral status. Thank you very much. And I hand over to the next speaker. Eloi, please.
Thank you very much, Verena, for highlighting the concrete steps taken in Hamburg to grow and decarbonize district heating. And now, indeed, I will turn to our next speaker, Alessandro Capretti, who works for A2A. And this morning, well, Alessandro, you will talk to us about the steps taken in northern Italy, in the region of Milano and Brescia, to grow and decarbonize district heating. Please, Alessandro, it's your turn.
Thank you, Eloi. Thank you, Euroheat Power, for having us today. I'm going to share you some of our experience in Italy. Just a few words on our company. We are the first operator of district heating in Italy by distributed heat and network extension. We serve 16 municipalities, roughly 27,000 customers. We have more or less 1,300 kilometers of network and more than 500,000 equivalent flats served with our district heating systems. Coming to some numbers on our heat sources, as you can see on the left, more than 70% of our heat production comes from CSP, waste heat and renewables. And we distributed roughly 3 terawatt-hour per year of heat in our systems. We run more than 20 district heating systems in the Lombardy region in the north of Italy. The share of production, we have 2 areas that we consider, as you can see on the right. We have yet today in the east area more than 50% of renewables, and just let's say only 8% with gas boilers, and the others comes from CSP and waste heat. Whilst in the west area we have a bit more gas boilers. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about our experience in Brescia, where we install a flue gas condensation system with heat pumps in our waste to energy plant. And on the upper left, you can see the situation that we had in our waste to energy plant before the installation of the heat pumps. We produced 180 megawatt of thermal energy. After the installation of the heat pumps in the flue gas systems, we recover 50 megawatt of heat more than before. And looking to the picture on the left bottom of a slide, you can see that how we transform our production by source in the systems. In 2015, we had roughly 2/3 of it coming from waste to energy, and the other part from fossil fuel. Now we have just a few than 10% from fossil fuel, and all the other heat comes from waste to energy or waste heat and renewables. What was the main benefits for us from this project? For sure, heat recovery and emission reduction. On the right, you can see two pictures of our power plant. It's a huge power plant, and just a note, the Brescia system is the widest Italian district heating system. We have roughly 700 kilometers of pipes in the city, and more than 70% of a total heat demand comes from our systems. Now I'm going to Milan, where we have two projects that I'm going to show you. These are not so big, but important for us. The first one is a heat recovery from the drinking water network. We reached an agreement with the local integrated water service operator, that is a municipality-owned company that is called Metropolitana Milanese. They have a plant nearby our district heating power plant. What was the agreement? They built a cogeneration plant, and with cogeneration engines and 3 megawatt heat pumps. And thanks to this, we can utilize in our district heating network the energy, the geothermal energy that comes from the wells of the aqueduct that are nearby this power plant. And we run and operate and maintain the power plant, and we can save, thanks to this, a quota of greenhouse gas emissions. And thanks to this, we have now in this area, because this is not a big network, but this is a residential area. Our system now is an efficient district heating system according to the European directive. Just some words on what could be done with data center in a big city like Milan, because I just want to spend a few words on what you can see on the left side of the slide. In 2024, in our region, the TS operator received roughly 19 gigawatt of electricity connection requests for data center. And in 2023, just only for Milan, 4 gigawatt was for this kind of connection. And just to compare, the total Italian peak load demand is 58 megawatts. So as you can see, there's an impressive demand for electricity power for data center in Italy, particularly nearby Milan. And we think that this is a great opportunity for us to recover it and to use it to decarbonize our district heating systems. So we are now into the constructions of our first heat recovery from a data center. This is the so-called Avalon 3. It's in Milan, and we are going to install a 2.5 megawatt heat pumps to recover 15 gigawatt hour And the other benefit is that PUE of a data center will decrease, so it will be improved, and we can decarbonize thanks to this project more than 1,000 families. I think that this is one very important example of what we can do in the future in Milan. We are talking with other operators of this data center. There are a lot of big data centers that are going to be built nearby Milan. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, please reach out.
Thank you very much. I actually have a question, but I will keep it for later. And now I would like us to move 2,000 kilometers north of Brescia to see how things are developing in Finland. So in Finland, obviously, district heating is very well established and central in the strategy to phase out fossil fuels. Now we will hear Jukka Meskanen from Elen.
I think we are going to Espoo instead of on the way to Finland.
No, yeah, that's correct. Sorry. So we will move to Finland a little bit later. But before going to Helsinki, you know, I was too impatient to go to Helsinki, Klaus. I'm going there for my vacation next summer.
Okay.
No, we will make a little stop in Eisberg. So also actually on this market, this district heating is very well established in Denmark. And Klaus, well, this morning you will tell us about developments there and how actually district heating coupled with large heat pumps is helping sector integration and helping to develop a clean supply of heat. So please, Klaus, now it's your turn.
Thank you. And I somehow, I got the controller about the slides. Yeah, I will do a small presentation about what we call sustainable district heating, and also a lot of this sea water heat pump that Raymond was mentioning before. My name is Klaus. I'm representing Din Forsyning, who is municipality-owned district heating company on 2 different municipalities on the west coast of Denmark. We have around what we would say 25,000 installations. It's around 45,000 houses, maybe 60,000 flats, different small heat plants, and a lot of pipe networks. We are like in Hamburg, we are a well-established district heating company with more than 100 years of operations of our district heating networks, both in the cities of Esbjerg and Varde. We have been through a lot of transformations like we have been before. We have shifted the energy input to our district heating network several times during these more than 100 years. And the latest is now the first one where we called it the direct electrification phase, where we have been successfully on CHP, both from waste to energy plant and also from a coal-fired power plant. And that was the second generation of coal-fired power plants here in Esbjerg. And we have used this for many years, and on to 2024, where we outphased the coal-fired power plant of Esbjerg. How did we do that? Yeah, we did do that by electrifying our district heating network. And I could see there were already questions in the chat about how to operate a district heating network. And we would say in Esbjerg, we are already on what we could call a 4th generation district heating network, because we have been focusing on really optimizing both the network, but also the installations in the network. And I think that's also sometimes an overseen discipline in being an efficient district heating operator. And if you have to be an efficient in decarbonizing and also integrating with renewables, you have to have a really well-established and well-operated district heating network. And this is the temperature that we can operate, but the heat pump, we are in the first phase, so we are operating even at higher temperature. As also Raymond said, that the heat pump technology can also operate at what we will call district heating networks of generation 2 and 3 with high temperature networks. But that's what we did. How did we do that? Yeah, we brought in a lot of renewables, because in Denmark, we have one of the biggest shares of renewable ready already in the electricity grid, and that's also the reason why coal-fired power plants or big power plants in general have difficulties to be competitive in the electricity markets. So how to use this situation? Yeah, we try to bring in the renewables in a flexible way into the district heating network, and thereby is a heat pump and really efficient key enabler to do that. But it's not the only enabler, because there's different enablers, and I will come back to them afterwards. But what presenting earlier today, one key stone or key puzzle in the brick of our decarbonisation is the big heat pump. This is a CO2 heat pump, so that was really important for us to have an refrigerant that are neutral and also really friendly to the seawater, because we have in Esbjerg a lot of seawater accessible outside our district heating network. As Verena was also telling about Hamburg, it's about to integrating the local energy sources into a district heating network. So you need to have the heat source close to the district heating network, and also the accessibility to the renewable electricity. And this combination was with seawater in Esbjerg, because we are a harbor city, so that were outside our houses. There is the harbor already. So we used seawater, and for seawater there we needed, for environmental reasons, we had some restrictions on the different refrigerants in the system. So we were lucky to have the possibility to integrate a heat pump solution based on turbo technology compressor, and with the CO2 as a refrigerant. There's also other possibilities, and you will hear about them, or you already have heard about them from Hamburg, and also from Italy, and now also from Helen afterwards. But we use CO2 here. We have also a smaller heat pump installation that's also CO2 as a refrigerant. Yeah. We can do, with our system here, we can do, depending on seawater temperature, we can do 70 megawatts thermal effect at 90 degrees forward temperature. So, and that's where we have efficiency above 3 on the COP. And now it should be, yes, because we are putting in, as I said, into a multi-vector of energy sources, because we need to be flexible towards the electricity system, because as we also said, sometimes there is no renewable electricity in the system, in the Danish grid. In these situations, we have to be able to stabilize and also help to release electricity for other uses. So therefore we have this combination of different energy vectors combined with a quite big thermal storage system. And by this flexible system, we can do a really efficient way of decarbonizing, but also to help and protect the electricity system, and also do electrical grid stabilization with the combination of a big seawater heat pump and also electrical boiler. So this combination gives us the possibility to both decarbonize and stabilize and protect the electricity system in Denmark, or in Scandinavia, in fact, because the electricity systems in Scandinavia is coupled. Yes. As you can see, and Raymond was also mentioning, that the heat pumps in Esbjerg are operating. So since the 1st of January, we are producing a lot of energy, and you can see we are supplying around 20 to 30% of our energy mix, depending a little bit on seawater temperature. And you could see this year we were having 2 days where we had to shut off, because the freezing point of seawater in Esbjerg were so close. So we already see this situation, but we have a solution, because next year, when our wood chip boiler is in full operations, we can even operate below the freezing point of seawater, as long as the seawater can be is liquid, can be pumped. So, but that is 1st of next year. So that the heat pumps in Esbjerg, they are operating now, and I can show on next slide. Since the 4th of December, the first one were operating, the second one, the 19th December. And you can see on these days that we have produced around 151,000 megawatt hours in January, 140,000 in February, and our forecast for March is around 130,000. And that's more because we expect the weather to be so hot that we cannot utilize all the heat from the heat pumps. We can also see that the COP is performing as expected, maybe even a little bit better, but I will not disclose the details yet because they have not been verified, but we will come out with some reference numbers shortly. So there is a lot of other projects around Europe that wants to have these details for their planning. So, but we will release them shortly when they are confirmed. As we could say, we had a longer installation time. We had a project execution process that were a little bit longer than expected. Maybe it was a first of a kind for the supplier and the sub-suppliers, and also how to do it here. There were a lot of things also on planning and approvals that had to be done for the first time. So the installation and the project execution was a little bit longer than expected. Commissioning was very true. A complete plant worked first time. That was quite surprising and really, really impressive. We have an installation that's close to the city, so it's also really important for us to have no noise, no vibrations, no emissions, and we are operating as expected and even a little bit better. That's quite promising. With a new technology, you have the CO2, the environmental friendly. So we have a heat pump installation, very compact, close to the city. That's I think that's really, really nice project that we have made here. Yeah, and is this the end? No, it's the beginning, or the end of the beginning maybe, because we are already looking into the next transformation in Esbjerg, because electrolyzers and all other things on the indirect electrification will come, but still the assets, the heat pump will still be a medium supplier, and will also make, with the combination of the heat storage, will be this electricity integrating system. So it will also have a lot of value to the electricity system. But in the future, we look for even other heat sources directly from indirect electrification, for example, from electrolyzers. We can integrate them also into our flexible grid. I think that was the short story from Esbjerg today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Klaus. It was really, really interesting. And I guess the first project is always a bit longer than planned. I guess there is also a learning curve. I mean, we can come back later on this point. But thank you. I think like in Brescia, like in Hamburg, I mean, the key points here, it's using local sources, it's sector integration, system integration. So thank you. And this time, we'll continue our journey up north. And now we are moving to our next speaker, Jukka Meskanen from Elen. So Jukka, please go ahead.
Thank you, Eloi, for having us here this morning. Good morning to the audience. My name is Jukka Meskanen from Elen. In my presentation, I'll showcase you Helen's journey to a clean and flexible energy system. Few words about who we are. We are a utility owned by the city of Helsinki. Last year, our group net sales were roughly 1,500 million, and personnel perspective, we are over 700 strong. The essential core of our business is electricity, heating, and cooling, and we have ambitious goals for our carbon neutral targets by 2030. So in brief, we keep Helsinki warm here in our cold north. So let's have a look at our roadmap. I'll start off by saying we will phase out coal entirely from our energy mix in the next week, completely. Sure, we started phasing out coal CHP already in 23 when we shut down Hanasaari, but the remaining coal will be phased out next week when we close Salmisaari coal CHP. To enable this, Helen has started to invest into clean technologies already years before. As you see from the graph, we are implementing biomass heating plants, we implement electrical boilers, we implement really large-scale heat pumps and heat storages. We make combinations of all the above for system optimization and sector coupling benefits. If we look at our roadmap from 22 to 27, we see a staggering over 80% decrease in our CO2 emissions. And want to highlight that the roadmap until 27, all those investments have been already decided, and the rest is in planning phase. So let's have a look at some of our heat pump facilities. Katrivala heat pump plant starts its history already 20 years ago when Helen excavated the first premises underground. The location is underground Katrivala Park, downtown Helsinki, and the system or facility utilizes wastewater heat as raw heat for the heat pumps. This has been built in phases when the first phase already gave us over 100 megawatts of capacity in heating. The second phase rose the capacity to above 130. And the third phase capacity increase was not 2-3 years ago, giving us a total of 165 megawatts in heating and over 100 megawatts of cooling capacity. The annual heating production of this facility covers the heating needs for over 100,000 citizens per annum. In all, this is the world's largest district heating and cooling facility utilizing wastewater heat. When the wastewater leaves from Katrivala, it flows to Eiraranta, one of our newest heat pump facility investments. Helen has excavated over 40,000 cubic meters of rock to create these premises underground. The facility as such is over 100 meters long, and we have over the 3 of these heat pumps units you see in the picture. And to give some perspective, these individual heat pump units, they are over 20 meters in length and they weigh tens of tons. So we are discussing really large-scale heat pumps, not your average household equipment. When commissioned, this facility will provide 90 megawatts of district heating and 60 megawatts of district cooling capacity. The annual heating covers the needs for over 50,000 citizens per annum. We've also included here a 30 megawatt electrical boiler for system optimization purposes. The excavation work started in January 23, and during this year, we are commissioning this plant to operation. Last but not least, Patola, our latest air-to-water heat pump investment. Nothing less than the world's largest air-to-heat pump facility, producing from 20 to 33 megawatts of district heating capacity, depending on the outside temperature. These units can operate up to minus 20 degrees centigrade using CO2 as the natural refrigerant. In addition, we are installing 2 50 megawatt electrical boilers or constructing them as we speak. And in planning phase, we are planning to utilize a heat storage for full sector coupling benefits. The annual production of this facility covers the heating needs for over 50,000 people per annum. We made the investment decision last year. Construction works have been started, and we are commissioning this facility for the heating season 26-27. So with these case studies, I'll summarize that large-scale heat pumps are essential when thriving towards a cleaner and flexible energy systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jukka, for your presentation. And actually, Jukka, so now I think we can open the floor for the discussion. And Jukka, I would like to follow up with you with a question regarding the key factors. What are the key factors enabling the clean transition of district heating? Can you share with us your insights this morning? And then I will ask kind of same question to Verena and Alessandro. I think it's interesting to have the point of view of developers. Please.
Yes, sure. So when electrifying the district heating, we need quick and flexible production capacity, and we need heat storages to get the sector coupling benefits. But of course, as we electrify, we cannot forget the essentiality of the national grid and the stability of the electrical transfer grid to get the whole system to work properly. And of course, in general, when utilities invest, we invest in longer term. So the policies surrounding us, we of course hope a stability from the operational environment perspective.
Thank you, Jukka. Verena, do you want to add here? I mean, at the end of your speech, you highlighted some conditions for the heat transition to take place, in right way. Could you develop a bit more on the challenges for Hamburg, but also the enabling factors?
Thank you, Eloi. Well, the specific chances we see in Hamburg, the city of Hamburg, is we have a really large river, the Elbe River, and we have our CHP plant, gas-fired CHP plant at the Energiepark Harbor, very close to Hamburg water. So there is really a high volume of wastewater from the whole city of Hamburg close by. So the wastewater heat pump can be constructed without needing a long heating grid, which is very important. And in order to step towards the river heat pump, the large river heat pumps, we need a lot of space close by to the heating grid and close by to the water. So having enough of space available in a big city like Hamburg, which is densely populated, is a challenge. The water is close by, that is a chance. And then maybe adding to what Jukka said, we need very stable conditions because the projects have a long duration time from project to construction. We need stable regulatory legal conditions, looking at the European framework, looking at the German framework, and we need to look at the grid stability, as Jukka said, cooperation early enough with the grid operators announcing where we are planning to use how much electricity, when, in order to have them the knowledge from the grid perspective, from the electricity grid perspective, what they have to construct in order to supply enough electricity with their grid. And the financial support is also an important part of the legal regulatory framework. And the last thing I would like to add is electricity price. We have quite high electricity prices in Germany. It's a topic that the new German government has in focus, in a clear prioritized focus. They want to bring down the electricity price. which would help all those sector coupling technologies. So it's the price of electricity, it's the space we need, it's the electricity grid, and the good legal and regulatory framework long-term, as we have long-term planning for our projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Verena, for these very clear messages. Alessandro, do you have anything to add on this question? What are the enablers? Do you see some specific challenges in Italy? And then another question, do you have any other projects in Brescia or Milano with large heat pumps?
Thank you. I want to underline what just Jukka and Verena told about the stability of the framework, because also in Italy, for us as operator, we need a stability to put our investment into district heating. We are now in Italy in a quite confused situation today, because we have a draft of regulation on tariffs that, if it would be stabilized, could penalize green investments, because as it is now, we are facing the risk to don't have our green investment fully recognized in its tariffs, and that would be a mess, and would be for sure an obstacle on green investment in this heating sector, not only for us, but for all the Italian operator. Then another point that is open in Italy is how will be implemented the energy efficiency regulation directive that state that by 2050 we will have to be carbon neutral, but we don't have any idea up to now. It should be implemented by October 2025. There's a few months left, but we have no idea where we are going, and that's a big problem. That's because, as the other speakers told before, we need a long-term view, and this is missing now. And also, in general, speaking to the Italian situation, there's no clear strategy on in the energy sector, and also, let's say, in the industrial sector, and that's another obstacle today towards investments. Coming to other projects, and there's a lot of waste heat in our cities. Just to let you understand, in Milan, we have up to now 10% of the total heat demand of the city served by district heating. So we have a huge potential to increase this. I'm talking about some terawatt hour, not nuts. And we are looking to a sewage water plant, and also to geothermal plant. What is missing is, as I mentioned before, a long-term view, a stability that could help us to decide to invest in this kind of project. And also, another point, looking particularly to the sewage water plant, we are different operator. So let's say private company, different interests, and you have to put together different goals, and this is always challenging. Also, in the case of data center, which is very important, we don't have the same goal, and so also in this way, the framework should help us to use as much waste heat as possible in our cities. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Yeah, it's quite clear that to implement all these projects, we also need a dialogue at local level between various stakeholders. And obviously, this dialogue must be underpinned by a clear strategy. I would like now to move to Klaus and Raymond. So Klaus, of course, feel free to add on challenges and enablers, but I also have a question specifically on the project you described. So first, how long did it take to develop the project? But the question is more on the learning curve. So can we assume that the next projects in Denmark will be faster? Can you elaborate on this? I think it's also important.
Yeah, in general, we don't have the same issue, not as big as in Italy and other southern countries, about the development of the district heating. I think that the Danish district heating have a okay-ish development on the customer side. So now it's about transition, and I think there's a lot of going on this electrifying the district heating in Denmark. We have a good accessibility to the end customers, but now it's about changing the system here. And I would say we expect, and we are working together with our friends in Aalborg and also other bigger cities in Denmark, about how to get the project execution time down. And I know that they in Aalborg expect to be at least 1 year faster than us, because there's a lot of learning curves, learnings, but also especially on the planning and also on the environmental approval side, there's a lot of questions that have been answered from the Esbjerg project that can be one-to-one related to Aalborg and maybe other cities around Denmark. And I think they could also, many of these questions could be put into European level. I think one of the issues there is also on environmental planning, so that the local environmental planners, they know which kind of questions do they have to ask, which kind of impact do this technology have to the environment. So especially on that side, I think there's a learning curve. On the technology, I would leave that to man. What they have learned, I think they also can learn a lot, and hopefully they will. But I will leave that to Raymond to answer that.
Yes, Raymond, there is one question in the chat. How long does it take from design to commissioning? I think it would be really, really interesting, Raymond, if you can share with you your insight as a manufacturer. I mean, can we accelerate project developments across Europe?
Yeah, thank you very much for this good question. But first of all, before I answer that, I have to apologize. Of course, the 5 projects I showed, they have savings of 500,000 tons a year, and not only 500 tons, so 500,000 tons. Okay, coming back to your good question. Yes, I think we have to accelerate and become quicker, and not only on the supplier side, but also on the customer side. Typically, a project from the idea until the hot water is provided the first time, it takes about 7 to 9 years, or sometimes even longer. So we have to cut these times in half on both sides, on customer side as well as maybe on supplier side as well. And we have to standardize the process on the customer side, but also, of course, the more these huge heat pumps become commodity, the more we will see coming on the market, the more mature will be the experience we make. And so I think we can do a better job on both sides, on the customer side as well as on the supplier side. Verena, she already said, yes, we have to come down with the electricity price, because the delta between gas price and electricity price is ridiculously big. And so this is maybe also still an inhibitor to electrify the heating. Also, what I believe, we need to do more education on the market, like these kind of webinars. There are still a lot of people, politicians, consultants, customers, they have very little knowledge about these huge heat pumps. And I think we should not stop their they bear a big potential, and we have to educate the market and find measures together how we can increase the number of such projects to do in the same period of time, that we can work on more projects in the same time.
Thank you very much, Raymond. And I'm looking at the time, and I think at some point I will need to wrap up this discussion. So I would like to thank all our speakers. I think with your examples, you were able to, explain how the market is developing. It's quite clear that there will be more opportunities with district heating and large heat pumps. These are clear solutions to decarbonize the heat market, but also to ensure what was discussed with system integration. We also heard, I think, clear messages that we need from the various levels of governance a clear and long-term agenda to get investors in the game. It was also said that it is important to have a sound and consistent framework underpinned with support when necessary. But obviously, cities and industrial players are ready, so time to accelerate the heat transition. And before I close all these discussions, I would like to invite all our participants to our Congress in Prague. You can see here on your screen, so it will take place between the 3rd to the 5th of June 2025. We'll have over 25 sessions, vibrant sessions with great speakers, a big exhibition this year. You can see over 450 participants. So I think Prague in June will be the right place, the right moment to continue the conversation. So I would like to thank once again our speakers. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all the participants for their trust. See you soon. See you in Prague. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.